It is 72 days to the presidential and parliamentary election. Hello, good evening and welcome to Newsnight. Coming up, organized labor and the Ghana coalition against illegal mining braces for a showdown with government as ultimatum to government to ban all forms of mining on river bodies and in forest reserve expires in 4 days.
Certainly it's going to come on, but we have to finally decide on the move and then the strikes. We are yet to take a decision on.
We'll bring details plus revelations. Heavy metals from illegal mining is causing spontaneous abortions in mining communities.
The research that has been done that is linking the heavy metals from this Galamsey with spontaneous abortions that are happening in some of those areas.
Also tonight, ECG board rejects calls for its dissolution over poor performance following the resignation of the company's managing director, Samuel Dubik Mahama. Stay with us because we have details as the board appoints David Wedua Samoa as acting managing director with a promise that the latest happenings will not affect power supply. Also tonight, Electoral Commission formally rise to the NDC, asking it to choose dialogue over protest, committing to demonstrate that it is resolved to issues identified by the latest opposition party, while insisting the calls for a forensic audit is premature.
And in business, LPG marketers yet to start lifting products from toll and other depots despite earlier assurances.
And later in our Constituency Lens series, we take you to Abuakwa South Constituency, where access to clean water and employment opportunities remain top on the agenda for constituents as they prepare to cast their votes in December. My name is Faustina Safan. I'm doing this with...
And my name is Evans Mensah. You want to join us with your views and comments here on Newsnight? Feel free, 055-11-11997. Details after this.
Thanks for choosing us. We're your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Tonight, organized labor and the Ghana coalition against illegal mining are bracing themselves for a showdown with government. Their ultimatum to government to ban all forms of mining on river bodies and in forest reserves expires in just 4 days. The labor unions met today to decide whether to shut down government machinery or roll out series of protests to pile pressure on President Akufo-Addo to end the menace. Organized labor and the coalition made a raft of demands, including the declaration of a state of emergency over water bodies and the deployment of the military to clear all illegal miners.
Well, we'll be hearing from the Secretary General of the Ghana Federation of Labour shortly, but first tonight there is a dire warning from the Pharmaceutical Society. They have warned their members will have to import water to manufacture essential drugs locally. Samuel Kordonko is the president of the society.
It is undoubtedly one of the greatest threats to public health we have ever confronted. The activities of illegal miners, in particular, have devastated our water bodies, making it increasingly expensive for pharmaceutical companies to treat water for the manufacturing processes. Ghana currently enjoys self-sufficiency in local production of infusions, but illegal mining threatens this achievement.
Convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Dr. Ken Ashibe, says latest study shows how heavy metals from illegal mining is causing spontaneous abortions in mining communities.
We have, working with the researchers and academics amongst us, we have research that has been done that is linking the heavy metals from this Galamsey with, spontaneous abortions that are happening in some of those areas. And then the heavy metals that are found in the uterus of some of these women, some of whom lose their lives. And then the deformation of the children, that are born. We also know that currently if you go to places like Konfuanochi, for example, there are a lot of young folks, silicosis. Some of them are, on oxygen and all of that. And so we want to be able to push down to the people in the local communities, apart from the scourge of the water bodies and all of that are destroyed, for them to see the linkages that are there. So, and then the second part of it would be because some of the pictures are really gory, where you see the way these children have been deformed and all of that. But we need to shock ourselves into those who are still asleep and thinking that this Galamsey is some good thing for them to see that the cost, the human cost, the cost to our environment. We've heard about the losses of money that we're losing as a country and all of that, so that it would bring it more home to them. And then, so when the minister talks about the fact that we are asking for draconian, he knows that there is draconian measures because we are really under, a crisis.
And that there is Ken Ashigbe. He's the convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. I want to bring in right now President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Angel Kabonu, and he was part of the meeting of organized labor considering what to do upon the expiration of that ultimatum they gave to government that expires on Monday. And Mr. Kabonu, thanks for your time here on Newsline. Have you decided yet what to do?
Well, at the expiration of the ultimatum, organized labor will reconvene and take the appropriate action that will be in consonant with the crime against humanity that is being perpetrated by a few Ghanaians for their selfish ends.
But since you declared your intentions to strike but also to protest, government indeed met you. Isn't that enough, at least for now, as they try to dialogue to find a solution that will be holistic?
You see, even the situation that we find ourselves is not a dialogue situation. I support Ken Ashigbe's statement that you need a draconian measure to put a stop to the activity. Then after that stop to the activity in all shape and form, you now could sit down and have a sober reflection as to the appropriate way to go with regards to mining in this country. You cannot here now be making argument on the difference between Galamsey and small-scale mining. If the small-scale mining activity is taking place in a forest reserve, if the small-scale mining activity is polluting the water of our country, then it is illegal. So trying to confuse us with definitions so as to see the difference between small-scale mining and Galamsey is just red herring that they are trying to impose on us. For now, we expect government to show resolve. Government should show strength. Government should suspend surface mining activities in all shape and form. Then government can create the tabletop situation where people can sit and have a discussion and know where to mine and what type of mining that can be done. That resolve we have not seen from government.
You're suggesting that after you met with the government ad hoc committee, nothing has happened? Because I know that you placed before them your demands.
No, we maintain our position. We maintain our position. Our position did not shift.
And I'm just recalling that statement you issued on the day that you told us your intention to embark on a series of actions. Two things you said in that statement. Organized labor will urgently embark on a series of demonstrations and a nationwide strike if government fails to address the concerns raised by end of September 2024. You already gave us an indication what will happen. Two options, a demonstration and a nationwide strike. Is there room to vary this?
We are waiting for the deadline to arrive. When the deadline arrives, a general organized labor meeting will be organized. And then the first step of action will be announced to the public. You know, this fight is not a quick fix situation. This fight ought to be very sustained. The people who are involved in this are the same politicians you are calling upon to change the laws and to show resolve. So that time we will convene, take a decision, follow through with action or actions that will inform the public about.
Thank you very much. That there is Angel Kabonu, is the NAGRAT president. Joining me right now is the president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, Samuel Kordonko, and we'll get him on the line pretty shortly because he's been speaking today, issuing the warning that their members will shortly be forced to import water to manufacture pharmaceutical products locally.
And they're not alone because the Ghana Water Company also served notice same because they are now forced to spend 3 times as much to purify water. Meanwhile, some women at Ewusiejo in the Ahanta West Municipality of the Western Region have resorted to the use of aluminium sulfate, commonly known as alum, in an attempt to purify water polluted by illegal miners for domestic use. Aside the hidden health dangers posed by the chemical, women and children in the town show skin irritation contracted after bathing with the water. Love FM's Erastus Asaredonko was in the community. He filed this report.
Butre, a once clean water source serving the water needs of Ewusiejo, Hotopo, and surrounding communities, is now a murky, poisoned river flowing like a plague through the Ahanta West community. But many have few alternative sources of water due to pollution from illegal mining for gold.
The rain doesn't rain, you won't get water in the well. You see that the water will finish in the well. You go, you won't get water to fetch. What do? You want to wash too. So you go and fetch it and then use the alum and then you use it to wash.
Some have resorted to fetching water from the polluted Butre River. They mix it with aluminium sulfate or alum, a water clarifying chemical sold commonly in provision stores in the town. They wait for the suspended particles to settle and the cleared portion is then separated for domestic use. Our testing of water samples from the Butre River at Ewusiejo registered 0.341 milligrams per liter for arsenic and 0.147 milligrams per liter for cadmium. This is an increase of 582% and 194% compared to the World Health Organization standard of 0.050 milligrams per liter. Aside the hidden dangers of using the cleared water, the women told us they get skin irritation when they bath with the water.
We use the same water for bathing, but the chemicals in it are causing skin rashes. The alum makes my hand itch whenever I put them in the water.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Ewusiejo, Western Region.
And today, in the last couple of hours, you're hearing from Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, who has reviewed plans to decentralize small-scale mining.
Indeed, according to him, there are plans to decentralize the small-scale mining licensing process to district assemblies should the NPP form the next government.
We'll hear from him pretty shortly. I want to bring in Samuel Kordonko. He's the president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. Thank you very much, Mr. Donko, for your time here on Newsnight. And today we heard you say that some of your members will now be forced to import water. Explain to me why you issued that caution. Hello, Dr. Donko.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Fantastic.
I can hear you.
Great.
We never said some of our members are importing water or they'll be importing water. We said that there's a threat. If this menace is not stopped, with a high level of pollution, with the metals that are currently, with all the metals and the mercury in the water, it will get to a stage that it will be very difficult for people to subject the water to the needed purification processes, especially to be used to make products like intravenous infusions, to make parenteral products that are given directly into the veins, and even for eye products, those who are doing eye products, it will be a challenge. And the very cost of treatment of this water will now become very high, and that will make the product become very expensive. This is in principle what the message we sent out yesterday at our AGM.
And this threat you talk of, what is informing your appreciation of it? Are you seeing it now, as in the effects of this on your ability to produce these pharmaceutical drugs in a way that obviously doesn't impose additional costs, but also you're able to use the water in a form that gives
currently, most of the factories have good purification systems that are handling it. But the fact about it is that if the same purification system that probably would have lasted for a very long period of time would all end up, their lifespan will be shortened because it's being given an extra task. And if the trend continues, then this danger or this problem would arise. It may even get to a point that it will no longer be adequate. The quality will not be good enough for us to be able to use for purification at all. And that is why the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana is sounding a warning that we are not saying that mining should be stopped, but we don't want mining around water bodies. We want responsible mining that will not affect our waters and also will not affect our forests. Basically, that is what our call is. We are concerned about the pollution, environmental pollution, the water destruction, as well as the destruction of the forest.
Based on your checks, how soon do you project we may be forced to import water? Give us a timeline.
We are not in that situation to say it, but we can predict that if this thing continues with all the reports coming and the current mercury level as we reported in our statement, then we are heading towards that. To be able to give exact timelines means that we need to go back and look at it scientifically. But we are not yet there to be able to tell that this is around this time. But that's what we are not currently in the position to tell you.
Are your members...
But for the pharmaceutical industry, we are sending a message that people are looking at this from all angles, but most of our factories that are producing intravenous infusion and producing parenteral will have to subject our water to a thorough purification processes. And the more debris we have, the more heavy metals we have, the more difficult it is for them to be able to do it, and the more costly it is for them. Basically, that is the message we send out.
Are you hearing direct complaints from your members already on this matter?
Yes, obviously that complaint has come. That it is costing them more. It's a bit difficult now for them. That complaint is being raised. We have met with the industrial pharmacists who work in the industries, and they have all raised an alarm. So it's an alarm and a signal that, but for now it can be managed. But like I told you, most of the plants used would rather break down prematurely ahead of its life cycle or its lifespan.
Thank you very much. Dr. Samuel Kordonko is the president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana.
Well, tonight the board of the Electricity Company of Ghana is rejecting calls for it to be dissolved following the resignation of the company's managing director, Samuel Dubik Mahama. Now, the resignation of Dubik Mahama, according to some energy sector CSOs, have been piling pressure on government because they want the entire board dissolved as well if Ghanaians want to see positive change at the state's power distribution company. Executive Director of the Institute for Energy and Security, IS, Nana Mwesi IV, was the first to make the call for the total dissolution of the board. Listen.
From the IES, we aren't surprised at the resignation of the boss of ECG. It's been something that we're waiting for a long time. We're getting the indication that for personal reasons that he's resigning. Yes, probably for non-performance as he takes it. That's why he may resign. But I think that it's a good, move he's done. Just that we count it as meaningless unless it's linked with the resignation of the board as well. When we are talking about the performance of the ECG, the poor performance, we cannot discount the role of the board. Strategic, direction they give approval to major undertakings of the ECG. If the ECG performed well, I'm sure they would have taken some credit. But for non-performance, they should equally take the blame as well.
Another energy CSO, Evans, African Center for Energy Policy, backed the calls by IS to get the entire board dissolved. Here's Ben Boachi speaking to Hannah Odami on the Midday News.
I think it's in order, but I doubt whether the shake-up that is required in the utility to bring efficiency and improve the fortunes of the company can be established by just focusing on the MD. And I think that it has to go deeper than that to make sure that there's a complete overhaul of management to bring urgency into the organization and to make sure that the threats that the budget is exposed to can be addressed in the shortest possible time.
In the shortest possible time, how do you think that vacuum can be also filled?
Yeah, I think it's just government recognizing that there's a problem and making sure that the right people with the right technical skill sets and commitment, first of all, to efficiency are actually recruited for that job to make sure that they can improve the fortunes of the organization. And I also think that the political interference that has bedeviled the company over the years will have to give way to efficiency. And power sector is business, and we should see it as such. and not allow politics to run such critical infrastructure or companies to ground, as we have done with ECG, to the extent that billions of cedis are spent every year to subsidize electricity, even though some people are paying for the electricity, simply for the fact that some people cannot collect revenue and others decide not to pay. The budget is shouldering those huge responsibilities.
Well, barely 24 hours after the resignation of the former director of ECG, Samuel Dubik Mahama, the ECG board has appointed a new acting managing director. The board affirmed the appointment of Deputy Director of Customer Service, David Asamoah, to take charge of affairs at ECG effectively immediately. Now, James Aveji, you were at that news conference a while ago, and you joined me in the studio with more on this. The majority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, who happens to be chair of the EC board, explained why they made the decision. Tell us more.
Yes, Foster. So this meeting actually lasted for about 3 hours, an emergency meeting by the board, and Alexander Afenyo-Markin confirmed the board's receipt of the resignation of Samuel Dubik Mahama and the decision to nominate the deputy director in charge of custom services at the ECG, Mr. David Boedi Asamoah, to act as the new managing director for the board in the interim while awaiting approval by the president.
James, there are calls for the entire board to be dissolved, and this came up as well. What was his response?
He thinks that this call is misplaced. The board is barely 8 weeks old, and so should be given enough time to work. I mean, the ineffectiveness associated with ECG cannot be the case that it was the work of this current board, and so the call is actually premature.
Well, the minority in parliament, they've painted a grim picture about the outlook of the ECG. Let's listen to Dubik Mahama. We'll come back and take a response on that. Afenyo-Markin, rather.
The board is new. There's a new board. There's a new board. There's a new board. Yes. Maybe he's not had the benefit of the mandate of the board and the tenure of the board. There's a new board. All right? There's a new board. And in fact, this is our second meeting. Or let me say, essentially, this is the first meeting of the board. This emergency meeting was the first meeting of the board. When we were sworn in, it was a familiarization. All right? This is the first meeting of the board. So I think that that's a misplaced position taken by him. However, I accept the fact that we must place our shoulders to the wheel for reforms. I mean, from outside and coming in. I think that ECG can be very efficient if we subject ourselves to reforms. And reform would involve engaging all stakeholders internally and communicating these to the external stakeholders. So it's an all-inclusive matter. And I don't want this blame game approach that we are blaming the public and the public is also blaming us. Because at the end of the day, the board has a mandate and there's a management with a mandate to deliver. So you cannot say that, oh, things are going bad. If things are going bad, what are you doing about it? All right? So he will be right in calling for reforms, which I support. And that's why in my earlier submission, I stated that certain steps have been put in place, certain steps are in the way, and management will address the media from time to time. But the public be assured that every effort will be made to ensure uninterrupted supply of power.
ECG board chair Alexander Afenyo-Markin. Well, James, you're still with us in the studio. Is there any clear indications on the way forward, especially now that the company has a new DG?
Yes, Alexander Afenyo-Markin said they've already put some policies in place that they'll be rolling out soon to transform the fortunes of the company.
ECG expects consumers to cooperate with it in terms of payment of their bills, and also expects that people who do illegal connections get reported, and the public understands that ECG isn't a political entity. It provides essential services. Our financial situation, yes, we wouldn't want to become bankrupt, but we are faced with challenges. And we don't want to give it a one-sided view. It's both sides. We would have to implement the necessary reforms that would make us super efficient. And the cooperation of the public is also essential. So let's look at it from that angle. I believe that maybe in good faith, management was putting across the issues to government. And of course, we all are aware the challenges that we face. But very soon, the company will make certain matters public. There's a new board. Is perhaps a 6 weeks old or 8 weeks old board that I'm chairing. So a lot of things are being done. Wouldn't want to be talking about them now, but be assured that there is this determination aimed at ensuring that support systems are in place to make ECG continuously an efficient state entity.
Well, one person who called for the dissolution of the board, Nana Mwesi, is Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Security. He joins us on the line right now. Nana, the ECG board chair says, yes, they welcome your call for reforms, but they reject the call for a dissolution. Good enough?
Not at all, Evans. Good evening to you, to your listeners. We believe that the board's claim is deflective and insufficient, given that the pressing issues at ECG required immediate and decisive action, which the board had failed to deliver within their tenure. If you had our good friend, Honorable Afeya Markin...
But if you listen to him, they said they've been there a maximum of 8 weeks. I mean, they couldn't have done much in 8 weeks.
But I'm sure, Evans, that you also heard him loud and clear that since the last 8 weeks that they were nominated to serve on the board of ECG, a company that is underperforming, a company's performance that is threatening energy security and economic stability, they have just familiarized themselves with the issues, and this is their first meeting in 8 weeks to take decisive action. What does it tell you? It means that if Mr. Mahama had not resigned, it could have taken them something beyond the election to sit down and think about ECG's performance and look for solution to the issues. He didn't mention that they've taken some steps to address the issues when they have not sat down as he claimed, and that today is their first meeting. So when did they cross the T's and dot the I's of whatever previous decisions that have been taken, or when did they sit to resolve on ways to go about issues? Not at all. We think that it makes sense for the board to be dissolved because they are just sitting aloof and not working in 8 weeks, Ivan.
What do you expect from the regulator, though, PULC, at this moment?
The regulator should go ahead, do its work without fear or favor, without any political interference, and if there's any, they should make it public for Ghanaians to know. They must enforce the rules and regulation, and when necessary, penalize the board, the management, and the company ECG. Put ECG on its toe. That's what the PRC must do.
Nana, thank you very much. Nana Mwesi is Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Security. So I'll shortly be sharing with you your views and comments on our WhatsApp platform, 055-1111-997. Still ahead.
Well, still ahead, the Electoral Commission formally writes to the NDC asking it to choose dialogue over protests, committing to demonstrate that it has resolved all the issues identified by the largest opposition party. We'll tell you all about that after business.
Well, coming up in business, Ghana's total debt stock reaches 761 billion Ghana cedis ending July this year, and LPG marketers yet to commence lifting products despite earlier assurances. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Synthesis Tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Ghana's total debt stock has reached 761 billion Ghana cedis ending July this year. This was captured in the latest economic and financial data released by the Bank of Ghana. The new amount represents about 75% of the total value of the economy. And the data showed that the amount owed external creditors was pegged at $31.6 billion, whilst the local debt was around 470 billion Ghana cedis. It also showed that the debt stock has gone up by more than 174 billion Ghana cedis in a year. Some already raising concerns about the new amount because they are yet to realize the impact of the completion of the domestic debt exchange program on these new debt numbers. To other stories, LPG marketers are yet to lift products from the Tema Oil Refinery and other depots despite earlier assurances. Tema Oil Refinery earlier today with the National Petroleum Authority assured the loading will commence before the close of the day. Now, the Vice President of the LPG Market Association, that is Gabriel Kumi, says they are yet to receive any supplies.
I can confirm to you that it's 5:15 p.m. No depot in Tema has loaded even one truck of LPG. And it's already late. I don't think we've been asked, all the trucks that went to the various depots have been asked to go back home because there's not going to be any loading today. In fact, when the announcement came from the National Petroleum Authority, loading was going to start within the next 1 hour. We rushed to all the various depots, placed our orders, but we were told by the BDC that the reconciliation issues, the issues that we've been having for the past almost a week now, are still not resolved. So we should wait. We have been waiting, and as I speak to you now, it's 15 minutes past 5 p.m. And there is no sign of loading from any of the 4 or 5 depots that we have in Tema. When we did the check-in at about 5 o'clock, about 75% of LP stations within the Accra region have run out of stock. And I can assure you that if this condition persists by tomorrow, by close of tomorrow, we run out of LPG completely in the system, especially within the Accra metropolis.
Gabriel Kumi is the Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association, speaking to Joy Business earlier. Meanwhile, the Tema Oil Refinery is challenging these claims of no loading on its premises. It has released to Joy Business way bills covering some loading that was done at their facility this afternoon. Let's still stay on the sector because the National Petroleum Authority says measures have been implemented to prevent the recent gas supply challenges that hit parts of the country. Let's hear from Abata Sinti, he's head of economic regulations at the National Petroleum Authority.
There's clarity on some of these issues. Like I said, this is a seed cargo that's being imported under the tender this year. The first 5, we never had any issues. This seed one was from a different supplier. And that's how come I think some of these issues came up. But we've had a meeting. We are going to provide more clarity as to how some of these reconciliations are done going forward so that we don't have the situation where a supplier comes and there's misunderstanding as to what number should be used for reconciliation. So I think that it's also a learning curve for us. It shows that we have to get every supplier to understand clearly some of these guidelines, and that resolves the issue. So we'll be proactive going forward in terms of letting the suppliers know what the way forward is, and we'll put this clearly on paper.
Abbas Tasunti is head of economic regulations at the National Petroleum Authority. The Bank of Ghana has rolled out a new method for calculating foreign exchange for the commercial banks. It moved, the regulator argues, that are in line with best international practices and ensure that it meets all the standards when it comes to quoting these foreign exchange rates. There is more in this report.
According to the Bank of Ghana, this is to ensure that more data is brought on board, as well as coverage when it comes to forex rates quoted by the commercial banks. It will also ensure that the rates reflect daily transactions executed between the commercial banks and their clients. Thus, Ching, the Bank of Ghana, argues that there's a long-term strategy to align its foreign exchange market reference rate with that of international standards. The central bank, in a circular to the financial market players, announced the reference rate will be published every day on the Bank of Ghana website and will be computed from the data submitted by all the commercial banks. It also went ahead to explain that the commercial banks will also submit data all spot US dollar rate and Ghana cedi transactions concluded before 3:30 p.m. It will broaden the scope for calculating these foreign exchange rates to ensure that all spot transactions on the interbank market, as well as transactions with their clients that have nominal values of $10,000 or more, mutually reflective of prevailing market conditions. Officials of the Bank of Ghana have told Joy Business that the new model will also ensure that the rates quoted by the Bank of Ghana reflect market conditions.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, Tennessee Ghana has expressed its commitment to empowering businesses to create wealth with cutting-edge technologies to enhance the growth of businesses out there. Speaking at the 10th anniversary celebration, country manager of Tennessee Ghana, Jonathan Dati, reiterated the company's preparedness to help businesses to enhance their security.
Tennessee Ignite is more than just a celebration. It's a testament to our shared commitment to pushing the boundaries of technology and exploring new horizons. As we embark on this day of exploration, innovation, and celebration, let us remember that the journey we are on is not just about advancing technology, but about making meaningful impact on the world around us. It's about empowering businesses, enhancing security, and fostering collaborative spirit that drives progress and success.
And that's the country manager of Tennessee Ghana, Jonathan Dati. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Well, in sports on Newsnight, Ghana has been drawn in Group A for the upcoming Under-20 African Cup of Nations qualifiers. Well, the tournament, which is set to take place in Togo next month, will see Ghana playing Togo, the host nation, Niger, Benin, all in Group A for a spot in the Under-20, 2025 Under-20 AFCON. Now, in Group B, we'll see Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and Burkina Faso also playing there. Now, Ghana has not been in the Under-20 African Championship since last winning it in 2021 under Karim Zito, and the team did fail to make the last edition, which was won by Senegal in 2023. Now, the four-time champions will be aiming to make a return to the continental stage. At that level, the competition also serving as qualifiers for the Under-20 World Cup, Men's World Cup. Now, head coach for the side, Desmond Ofei, has been preparing the team for the tournament, and he says they are ready.
The idea is to get the boys as sharp as possible. Like I said, we don't have a lot of time, and in the past weeks, also the players have been going to their various clubs with the start of the Premier League, so it makes it quite difficult for us to get the balance right. But hopefully, we can get this thing sorted as quickly as possible so that we can get the group united and prepare for the tournament. It's my first waffle, to be honest, but we'll try our very best to get the boys ready. Obviously, every tournament is different, but we're going to give 100%, and hopefully it'll be enough for us to qualify. It's pure sharpness. It doesn't matter who we come across. Waffle is the waffle. Every opponent is not easy, so it doesn't matter the name or who we come across, but I'm sure we'll get ready. We'll do the work for sure, but with your support, I'm sure we can get it done.
That's Coach Desmond Ofei there. Well, the competition will take place in Togo, as mentioned, from October 17 to the 31st, 2024. In the Women's Premier League Super Cup, semi-finals games are scheduled to take place tomorrow morning at the Ghanaman Soccer Center of Excellence, and the Zakas ladies will play in Dreams Ladies, and then Ampem Dakwa will take on Faith Ladies. Evans, Faustina, that's it for sports.
Thank you for bringing us sports. Now, the Electoral Commission has formally written to the National Democratic Congress asking it to choose dialogue over protest. The NDC wrote a letter and a petition to the EC, and the EC says it wants to demonstrate that it has resolved the issues identified by the largest opposition party. In a letter to Johnson Asiedu Nketia, the national chairman of the NDC, the EC was, however, clear that the demands for a forensic audit is premature.
Well, we have a copy of this letter that the EC has written to the national chairman of the NDC, in which they also admit that yes, there are still challenges with the current register, and they emphasize the point that the register as they have it currently is just provisional. They make the point that this is a human endeavor, putting together a register, and such as the registration of voters, there are bound to be discrepancies.
Okay.
And they say in this letter to Asiru Nketiah that one cannot therefore expect a perfect provisional voters register. And for this reason, they say that on the 6th of September, they asked the NDC to come and put their evidence before them. They indicated that the issues they had raised and had detected were usual issues that arise from every registration exercise which find expression in the PVR. Now, to allow your fears, and I'm quoting here, to allay your fears then, and to reassure you of the credibility of the voters register, we requested that you present us with your data on the discrepancies you had detected. The sole purpose was to demonstrate to you that your issues with the register had been resolved. He says, unfortunately, we've not received the data from you. As you will recall, there was an agreement that you will provide us with the data to allow us to investigate and report back within a week. The EC says they believe that had the NDC followed through with this process, they would today attest to the credibility and integrity of the register and rescind their call for a forensic audit. They go on, though, to assure the NDC that the Commission has largely corrected all the discrepancies identified during and after the exhibition. It is, however, important to note that the Commission is cleaning the PVR, employed a rigorous four-pronged approach as follows. So they're now detailing to us and to the NDC the steps they've taken so far to deal with the issues they have raised. One, voters to their exhibition centers and via an electronic media. Two, exhibition officers in all 40,000 plus exhibition centers scrutinized the register and reported discrepancies for correction. Three, district electoral officers relied on the register viewer to scrutinize the register and correct discrepancies, and IT staff also utilized the register viewer to scrutinize the register and reported discrepancies for correction. Now, the EC goes on to say that for the records that this same approach was adopted by the Commission prior to the production of the final register for the previous elections. Now, as the body mandated by Article 45A of the 1992 Constitution to compile the register of voters and to revise it at such periods as may be determined by law, we urge you to trust us. And this is the EC asking the NDC to trust us, trust them to perform our functions as enshrined in the Constitution. But they are very categorical that they do not need an external body. And they put it this way: we certainly do not require external assistance in our line of work. And this is because the NDC had requested that an external body be brought in to assist with the audit. The EC is very categorical in the letter they've written to the largest opposition party that they certainly do not require one to conduct this audit, and that they believe that the processes that they are undertaking by law will be enough at the end of it all to clean a register. But they've asked the NDC to come for conversations where they can demonstrate to them that they have indeed resolved the issues. Dr. Tanko Rashid, Deputy National Director of the Electoral Commission and IT at the NDC, really joins us right now with a reaction to this. I believe you've received a copy of this EC letter.
Yes, sir. Evans, we've received the letter. We've received the letter. We are just studying the letter, and then it's explicit. Evans, as I'm saying, if you look at the content of the letter, it borders on two things: technicality and policy. Now, the technical aspect is very clear. They've admitted to all the issues that we have raised in our petitions to them. And then it also has made our work easier. Unlike initially, people were saying we have not presented evidence, we have not given them evidence, we have not brought in what we expected to bring to them. Now, in their response, they have clearly stated that they are responding to some of the issues that we raised, especially the 243,000. If they hadn't seen our written evidence, how come they are not justifying why it came in?
Well, you now have an invitation from the Electoral Commission to come for conversations at which they want to demonstrate to you that they fix your challenges. Will you honor the invitation?
Well, that's a policy direction. We are going back to FEC to take a decision on it, whether to accept their invitation or not. So that for now, I cannot confirm to you unless a decision taken by leadership at FEC.
In the meantime, though, I know a decision will have to be taken because you told us that you gave the EC a 1-week ultimatum that expired a couple of days ago. Now they've written to you formally. Your next move?
Yes, that's why I'm saying that we've studied their response appropriately and we'll send it to FEC, Functional Executive Committee meeting, to deal with it, and we'll also reply them appropriately.
Thank you very much. And that there is Dr. Tanko Rashid, the Deputy National Director of Elections and IT at the NDC.
Well, with just 72 days until the general election, the parliamentary race in the Abokwa constituency is intensifying as constituents demand urgent solutions to the lack of clean water, worsened by the ongoing activities of illegal miners. They are also calling for more job opportunities to address the rise in youth unemployment in the area. Meanwhile, the NDC and the MPP candidate are locked in a heated battle, each claiming to be better for the constituency when it comes to leadership. In today's Constituency Lens, we focus on the pressing demands of voters and what the candidates have for them so far.
Here on the street of Chibi, there are a lot of youth who walk down the street and complain about issues such as youth unemployment and others. I have caught up with two gentlemen here who are also going to share with us their concerns they expect the politicians to address in the lead up to the 2024 elections.
What are we expecting any of the government that will come into power to do is I want any government who want to come to the power to be able to make sure that our road networks are very, very good. Okay. They should be able to give us an outline on how they'll be able to change all these issues in their manifestos.
Unemployment is also one of the big issues around here. People graduate and they don't get access to any work to do. They have to go to Galamsey.
Electricity, see, nowadays doing so I hate too much. Immediate posting after school. And that's my issue. That when we complete, we want the government to post us immediately so that we don't stay at home without doing nothing.
There are two people vying for the sole seat.
Kingsley is well defined by the constituents as education one. Right from KG1 to P3, we have what we call the Kingsley Readathon. It's a reading series that is done annually. There's nowhere within the 110 polling stations, 24 electoral areas, that you will not find the blueprints of Kingsley engaging socially.
I have been doing a lot for my people, and I don't believe in this flaunting of, because that is not the reason why I do those things.
And that's Constituency Lens. You can catch the full episode across our many social media platforms, also on Prime, Joy Prime, on our channels, and also on the Joy News channel too. You want to catch it there. Now, Fosi, I'm pretty sure you know that the mortuary workers have been on a strike today. And in the morning, it disrupted a fair bit of plans to have funerals, etc., but also for the hospitals, where they had to take, fresh bodies that they've, been dealing with over the last few days into the morgues. That became an issue. People were not able to take their remains of their loved ones out the hospitals to, people who are passing away, unfortunately, in the hospitals. They were not able to deposit them at these hospitals. And it was quite a disruption, particularly if you go to Kolebu Teaching Hospital with its huge size morgue there. Listen to some of the individuals who were affected talking to us about how this impacted them today.
But it's very bad. These people, when it comes to these places, they are very important. As we know, when someone dies and the family is not ready to bury, it has to be kept somewhere. But when they are not treated well and it comes this way, it affects the whole country.
I didn't know about the strike. There was no one there to remove the body for us. Now I'm going home empty-handed.
We beg the government to listen to what they are saying so that we can also be at peace. Because the death of a person is frustrating, and this whole thing is also very frustrating.
But there's some good news tonight.
Yes. Now, although the strike lasted for barely 12 hours, the Mortuary Workers Union, they have suspended their strike. And let's listen to the General Secretary of the union, Richard Kofi Jordan.
We are not here to litigate. We are putting the strike in abeyance out of respect for Ghanaians. We have seen pressure everywhere. Right. We are giving government 2 weeks. We are giving government 2 weeks. We are giving an employer 2 weeks. Today is 26 or so. Next week is not, the following week, which is on the 9th. Right. On the 9th of October, if government does not resolve all the matters before them, I'm sorry, on the 10th, we will trigger this strike again.
And among the many issues they complain about, the provision of PPEs is one, but also the working conditions is another. Yesterday there was a meeting and an undertaking was signed, but for them it's not enough because they haven't seen any commitment to resolve them, and that's why they've been on strike. Today, it's been postponed or suspended.
They've given government a 2-week ultimatum. They want to see actions. They also have concerns because they say their COVID-19 allowances as far back as 4 years ago hasn't been paid.
And that's it for News Night tonight, by the way. And you want to enjoy the rest of your evening. My name is Evans Mensah.
I am Faustina Safo. Good evening.